everybody, this is Eric Jose on Making a Murderer on YouTube. I cover the Stephen Avery and Brendan Dassey cases, but also as time passes I've been covering other cases such as the Staircase or OJ and many wrongful convictions of youth. I go over the documents, the photos, the videos, anything case related, so stay tuned because I have many more videos just like the one you're about to see. Hello everybody. We're back today with a little update on the Jayme Closs thing. Very interesting. I was able to read the court document basically filed today that basically shows all, what the investigators have so far found, that basically gives them the probable cause to, all that. It's very interesting. So there's some information here today. I'll leave the link below for you guys to go to the site where I was able to read this document. It's 12 pages for those of you who are interested. And basically, Mr. Patterson confessed. He, pretty much gave up as soon as they pulled him over. He pretty much was basically, I did it. I know why you're here and I did it kind of thing. So some disturbing aspects about this gentleman. I use the word gentleman, I think, loosely. There's some disturbing aspects about him, and I think he certainly would have escalated further had Jayme not been so brave and so, tough, and been able to get away and overcome that fear and be a big part of why this guy got brought to justice before he could have more victims. It's already sad enough for Jayme. I feel for her. Both of her parents are now dead thanks to this guy, because this guy had some uncontrollable urge to abduct her. It's basically as simple as he saw her getting onto the school bus one day when he was driving through her hometown. He saw her getting on the school bus, and he describes it as that. I decided right then and there that was the girl I was going to take. That's the way he put it. So this guy would have only seen another girl that he wanted to take, say another 6 months, a year down the line, and it's just I can only see that this would have been the beginning of a disturbing pattern. As it is right now, it's just a single crime, so he's not going to be seen as a serial killer. But hey, you know what? We're fortunate enough for him to not be able to go and prove that. He's already, by what he's done, he's already taken himself out of the game. He'll be in jail for killing her parents for quite a long time, especially in Wisconsin. The court document now, and then we'll come on back. Hello there, folks. Going through the statement filed with the courts today regards Jake Patterson, who is the one that was arrested in connection with the Jayme Closs kidnapping. So this is basically what was filed in court basically today. And as you'll see right here, this particular paragraph talks about when they saw his car and pulled him over. And as they were bringing him out, it says here, the driver informed Sergeant DeRosia that his name was Jake Patterson. Sergeant DeRosia reports he instructed Patterson to step out of the vehicle. And as he did, Patterson stated, "I know what this is about. I did it." So it looks, from what I'm hearing here, from what I've seen so far, it's looking like this guy did do it. It looks like, and I can only imagine that if he hadn't been stopped with Jayme, he would have only escalated into more, who knows what he was planning. I don't even know if there's any reports of him, what all kind of she had to endure while she was, being held captive by him for those couple months. We don't know all the facts and details yet, but what I was reading is she was basically held prisoner. When people would come to visit, he would make her go under a bed, and he would line it with laundry baskets that had like really heavy barbells in them, so that she could not move anything and get out from underneath that bed without him having known about it. And it was like a whole fear thing. It's pretty kind of scary. But that's one thing I wanted to point out as I'm going through this, and I'll probably find a few other things here and that I'll show you. And just another thing here is when they found her, some of the words of Jayme herself, which I think are somewhat interesting. So she talks about she estimated the walk took around 40 minutes. When she returned to her driveway, she saw a young girl in the road. Jean stated the girl yelled and begged for help. Jean stated she remembered the girl specifically say, "I'm Jayme Kloss. I don't know where I am. He killed my parents, and please help me. I want to go home." Jean estimated it was around 4:10 when she came upon Jayme Lynn Kloss. So I just think that was interesting. Those were Jayme's words. I mean, I can only imagine the level of trauma, you know, and the level of alarm that she was in. So I mean, it's interesting anyway. So but those are her own words. He killed my parents. Him saying I did it. Like I said, he still gets his presumption of innocence, but I'm pretty sure that his presumption of innocence is going to leave him pretty quickly at trial. Especially when as we see right here, as soon as he realized that he was caught, he immediately says, "I did it." You know. Now, is this incriminating? Are his lawyers going to be able to say something like, you know, what is he saying he did? I did it. What is it? You know, and I'm sure there's some, you know, whatever, you know, that would happen there. But there's going to be evidence. I saw, as I was reading this statement, there's a actual boot print left in the blood in the entryway. So they're most likely going to be able to match that boot print back to a set of boots that he owns. So there's going to be, I think, a considerable amount of evidence here against Mr. Patterson. But that's where it stands. So let's go on to the next thing. So here we have an account of Jayme Kloss herself of what happened that night. So it says, on the night that Jayme was abducted, Jayme stated she was asleep in her bedroom when her dog started barking early in the morning. Jayme stated she got up to investigate why her dog was barking and noticed there was someone driving up their driveway. Jayme stated she went to her parents' room and woke them up. Jayme stated her parents got up and her father went to the door to see what was going on. Jayme stated there was a man, later identified as Patterson, at the door with a gun, so she and her mother hid in the bathroom with the door closed. Jayme stated that she and her mother hid in the bathtub. Jayme stated she heard a gunshot and knew her father had been killed. Jayme stated her mother had her cell phone with her and used the phone to call 911. Jayme stated Patterson broke down the door and told her mother to hang up the phone. Stated Patterson told her mother to put tape over Jayme's mouth, which her mother did, and then Patterson shot her mother. A very traumatic experience for Jayme here. Very, very traumatic, and when you know the fact of how he targeted Jayme, the whole situation is extremely sad. Jayme stated both her mother and father were shot one time. Jayme stated the first time she saw Patterson was in the bathroom where she and her mother were hiding. Jayme stated Patterson was dressed in black from head to toe, including a face mask, hat, and gloves. So when you realize that he targeted her because he saw her riding on a school bus. That's how he targeted Jayme. One day he was going to a job, and he just happened to be behind the school bus that Jayme was in, I guess, and saw her. And he said it basically, or what the article says is it was basically at that point that he decided he was going to take Jayme. And there's no other connection. It's completely random. So I think I was right with my initial feeling about this in my very first video, where I said it felt a little bit like the Kohlhepp Kayla from the, Kayla was the girl that was found locked up in a bin on Todd Kohlhepp's property. And I when I first read about this kind of was striking me as a similar feel, and it looks like I'm probably right. This guy looks like he would have most likely been escalating into, for him to have just seen her on a school bus and to just suddenly up and do this is a little disturbing. But thanks to the bravery of Jayme Kloss, there's probably a lot of other girls who aren't going to have to suffer like she did. And she also brought him down at a time when he was just starting out. Now, you can't call him a serial killer at this point in time, maybe. But had he been able to continue on and been able to refine his little skill set, that would have, you know, she prevented that from happening, and that in my mind makes her pretty special. So let's move on to the next thing. So here it says that Mr. Patterson understood and waived his Miranda rights. Let's see. Detective Nielsen reports he read the defendant his Miranda rights. The defendant stated he understood his rights and was willing to speak with Detective Nelson and Special Agent Welsh. Detective Nelson reports the defendant confessed to killing James and Denise Kloss and kidnapping Jayme Kloss. The defendant showed he worked at Saputo Cheese Factory south of Almena for 2 days before quitting. On his drive to the cheese factory on one of the 2 mornings he worked there, he had stopped behind a school bus on U.S. Highway 8 where he watched Jayme Kloss get onto a school bus. The defendant stated he had no idea who she was, nor did he know who lived at the house and how many people lived at the house. The defendant stated when he saw Jayme Lynn Kloss, he knew that that was the girl he was going to take. So that amount of forethought tells you that this would not have been the first or the last. That's kind of what I was talking about. That's why I said this whole thing gives me that's why I said this whole thing struck me as the feeling like the Todd Kohlhepp thing again. And although there doesn't seem to be any hint of sexual abuse here, just the kidnapping, killing of her parents, and the mental anguish of this whole thing is enough to make the guy a monster. See, the defendant stated he put quite a bit of thought into the details of how he was going to abduct JLC. That's part of him refining his skill set. It's another reason why it was good he was caught the first time, so that there weren't more Jayme Klosses out there. But yeah, there's another one. Prior to arriving at the Kloss home, the defendant stated he stopped at a side road somewhere east of Barron and removed both the front and rear license plate of his car. So I mean, this guy was thinking. This guy was totally thinking. This guy was headed down the road of being a serial criminal. Well, certainly a murderer, because he had no problem killing Jayme's parents. So yeah, so this is what was coming out during this guy's talk with the police. Now we all know that confessions can be coerced, but I think this guy, as soon as he realized that, the jig was up, he decided to talk. That's the way it looks to me. But hey, it'll always be ever unfolding. But I think it's pretty obvious Jayme's going to be able to finger this guy, that this is the guy that came into the bathroom and killed my mom and dragged me out of the house. I mean, so this guy's going to have a fair amount of evidence to overcome that. But I really think that this guy was headed down a very bad road to being a serial criminal, murderer, possibly rapist, although I don't have any proof of that at this time. But certainly, at least possibly a serial murderer and an abductor. So there's the guy's behavior is certainly enough to be disturbing and to warrant concern. Let's see. The defendant stated that prior to leaving his house, he took his father's 12-gauge Mossberg pump shotgun, which he described as having a black stock and a silver chrome-colored finish on the barrel. The defendant stated that he had selected this particular gun because he had done research and knew that the Mossberg brand shotgun was one of the most heavily manufactured or owned guns, and assumed it would be more difficult to trace. So that's the amount of thought this guy's putting into it. The defendant stated he took out 6 12-gauge shotgun shells, which he described as being slug shotgun shells from the ammo box in the garage. So yeah, that's the amount of thought this guy was putting into it. He wanted to make sure he used a gun that was common, so that it would be harder to actually trace back to him. So yeah, this guy was looking to refine his little skill set. That's where he was headed. And I'm very happy that Jayme was brave enough to bring this guy to justice now. And there didn't have to be more victims, because I'm sure this guy was headed towards more victims. And here's some of the evidence collected, although there were 89 pieces, but some of it here, the Mossberg silver and black colored shotgun that he was describing, they found that and collected that. Some brown colored leather steel-toed boots, which I'm sure will match the blood, the boot print in the impression of the blood by the front door. Black colored jacket, black colored mask, stolen license plate, and glow-in-the-dark colored T-handle trunk safety release lever. So I imagine that's probably the thing that was inside the trunk that has probably Jayme's fingerprints on it, possibly his as well. But so anyways, those are the pieces of evidence. So this is going to be obviously something to follow here. We'll be very intrigued to see what happens with this guy in court, and whether or not this guy goes to trial or not. But that's the way it is so far at this time. You know, those are some of the facts coming out. And as I said, we'll keep following it as there's more developments. All right, so that's our update for the Jayme Closs situation at this moment in time. That 12-page document, I will leave a link down below for the article that has that 12-page document in. For those of you who want to go review it, you can. It's interesting. Like I said, it's basically the investigation report to this point. Obviously, this investigation is very young. And so it's only 12 pages, but I imagine that's going to grow in the coming week or two. But it looks like the guy's confessed. It looks like he's pretty much just gonna, you know, or he's at this point he's accepting what he did and owning up to it, I guess. We'll have to see if that changes. He may get a lawyer and that may change. But he's corroborated a lot of things with statements he's made and the statements he made to police. So that will be difficult for him to overcome, but you know, obviously we'll have to see where it all goes. You know, but my considered opinion is that my gut about this, I was right. It struck me, reminding me a little bit of the Kayla Brown situation with Todd Colehep, and it looks to me with the facts that are coming out that it looks like my instinct was pretty much right on this. This guy, I can't say how happy I am that Jayme was brave enough to get free and get help and everything, because she prevented this guy from going on and having a list of victims, and the fact this story has that feel-good aspect to it, because Jayme actually came home alive and well, physically well, you know. Obviously, yes, Jayme's got some therapy in her future, some things to deal with in the, you know, moving forward in the future here, obviously, but at least she's home, and you know, her family, her, you know, her parents, brothers and sisters, and mom and dads, and her, you know, her grandparents, all those things, you know, they're going to be very happy that they at least have her. You know, they're going to be you know, grief-stricken that they lost their son and daughters, but they're going to be happy that they still have their granddaughter. So that's the feel-good aspect of this story. That's a reason why I'm covering this story. And just like to say that I think looking at this investigation, it looks like they're handling it correctly, which is another thing I applaud. I should hate for this guy to be able to skate on a technicality of some sort, so I hope they continue to dot their I's and cross their T's. But that's about it for our update about Jayme Closs today. As I said, as more news comes out, I will certainly come on and report about it and talk about it. There seems to be a fair amount of interest in Jayme Closs, and like I said, it's very, very happy in the sense that she was able to come home and her loved ones were able to reunite with her. So that's about it for today, folks. If you haven't already, please hit subscribe, and we'll see you.